And now we can go to the Winona hair Dforce, and this is where we start to see things that look a bit complicated, right? It looks a bit complicated. I assure you it's not as complicated as it looks. The options are different, and we can manipulate these options to get our desired effect. So let's go through some of these settings. We don't need to go through all of them, but I'll go through the ones that matter. Okay, some of these settings don't matter as much. So line start width, that is the width of the hair from the root, okay, from the root of the scalp. So the smaller this setting, the more like thinner the hair will be. So a setting such as 0.03, smaller setting, okay, in terms of width of the hair. Okay, you can see the difference when I do this, 0.03. So going from 0.1 to 0.03, you'll see a big change from the scalp, as you can see from that. Just as it's doing it, you can see like it looks like there's hair loss there now, right? There's hair loss there. That scalp is more predominant there, which means the line start width of that strand is more thinner, which means basically we've got thinning hair. Okay, this character is losing their hair basically. The line end width here in millimeters, again, that is the width of the end of this strand. So the bigger it is, the more prominent it's going to be. So if I change to something like 0.2, which is pretty big, you'll see that it's going to really like get thicker. It's going to really look, it's going to get a lot more thicker around the ends. You can see the thickness, right, of that hair now, okay, regarding the end of the hair more, not at the beginning of the hair, the end of the hair here. So you can see it's a bit more thicker, but the actual base, which is this here, the line start width, is more thinner, okay? So again, with this, what happens with old age is the hair gets frail, gets thinner. So really, we need to bring that down. So something like 0.05 is a pretty good starting point. So now you can see the hair is a lot thinner now, and it's looking very thin. The line UV width, I'm going to leave because I still don't understand that yet, but it doesn't make any difference really in terms of that. I think it's to do with the actual UV of the hair, but I don't think it makes a difference that much for what we're going to be doing it for. So as you can see, our character is now losing their hair, okay? Fantastic. Now, how do we change the color of the hair? So that's where all these like root transmission color, tip transmission color, and all these color options come into play. So the root transmission color is the color of the hair at the root, right? Right at the root here where it attaches to the scalp, so to speak, that's going to be the color. So you can choose whatever color you want for the root. So you can have whatever color you want. If you wanted red, you can have red, and that root will turn to red, as you can see. See the difference there? That root, that's the root. That's what we're talking about there. That's the root that changes the color, right? Right at the scalp. That's what we mean by the root. So obviously, with this character, we would want, I mean, for me personally, I would have something like black hair because he's gonna, generally, he would have black hair. So I'm gonna have black hair right at the root. That's what I'm going to have, or some sort of darker hair basically for this character. Awesome. So that's what it looks like. Okay, now it looks like the hair is actually integrated into his scalp, so to speak. Okay. Now let's go into the next one, tip transmission color. Again, this is the end of the tip. What do you want the color to look like of that hair? So let's say we went something crazy like bright red again. It will show you the difference. Okay, so that's what it means by the tip of the hair. So it's literally the whole strand of the hair. What do you want the tip of that color to be? Okay, so with this one here, I'm going to choose some sort of like grayish color because I want it to be a bit more grayishy like that. Fantastic, that's fine. That's the tip. All right, as we scroll down, the viewport color doesn't matter because the viewport color is basically this color here, right? So if I change it to red, it'll be red. All right, that doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really do anything. Let's go back to the array preview. Glossy layer weight, again, very similar to glossy layer weight as in the array Uber. Is obviously the higher you have it, the more like glossy it looks. It's going to look a lot more like shiny and everything. Now, obviously, I don't want that to be shiny because when we get older, our hair gets older, it loses that shininess. So I'm just going to leave it as 0.2. Let's move on to the next setting, which is hair root color. And that is the root color of the hair, which is actually where the scalp is, I believe. So if I make this red, super bright red. You can see the difference here. Now you won't see it because you won't see that effectively, because obviously we've toned that this color here, the root transmission color, is overtaking that color, so you won't really see anything with that. What I generally do is set that to the same as the root transmission color or some similar kind of color to it, because that's what the root color is going to be. And then the hair tip color is literally the tip of that root. So again, if you went something like bright red here, you will see how much of that tip, right, actually goes. So how much of the hair root color actually goes into the strand here. So it goes kind of like a little bit. So for this one, I would like choose a slightly like brownish color, maybe something like that. Or maybe we could have something a bit different, maybe a slightly darker grey colour. And then this one here, the tip, we can go a bit brighter here. That's too bright. Let's go to the grey colour here. That's still too bright, don't really like that. Okay, so the hair tip colour I'm going to leave as black as well. That's absolutely fine. You'll see the change happening here as we do the IRA preview. Alright, so it looks a bit more better now. Again, let's go down. Base roughness is basically the roughness like you would have. So this would make the hair look more rougher. So if I increased it, you would see that the shininess kind of goes away, and it looks more, the hair looks a lot more rougher because the light is not going in. So you can play around with that setting. I'm going to leave it as it is because I think it looks fine as 0.25. Highlight weight is going to be the weight of this highlight. So you can see the highlights, what kind of highlight weight you want. So the more you have, the more the highlights will be predominant in terms of the colors here, the bright colors. These highlight colors here underneath the hair root, they're going to be more predominant. So I'm going to leave that as it is, 0.2. All right, so hair root highlight, what do you want the highlight to look like? So again, if I went really, really red, you can see the difference there. You know, there's not, because it's low, because the highlight is pretty low, you won't see that. But if I increased it, it would start looking more reddish. And the tip as well, if we made that red as well, you will see that be more reddish, right? You can see the highlight really come through here. So it really depends how you want to do that. What I would do is hair root. Again, I want it to be dark color, and then the highlight. For me personally, I'll leave it as grey. Don't want it to highlight too much. So you can kind of play with this setting. It's really, really cool setting. You can play with. You can increase that highlight. You can decrease that highlight. It's up to you. So you have a lot of control over strand-based hair. Really, really cool amount of control you have. So we'll leave it as that. That's absolutely fine. Again, these highlight roughness and separation are associated with this highlight section here. The other important setting is this one here, root to tip bias. So this one's really cool, where we can actually control the root hair color to the tip hair color. So if I, at the moment, the tip of the hair is more like whiter. As soon as I bring this to the left, it's going to become more root colored hair, right? You can have a lot of control over this hair. This is amazing stuff you can do with Dash Studio, especially with this hair. So now I've got complete control over how much of the root color of the hair I want to come out, and in terms of the actual end of the hair, the strands, right? The color of the hair, that's up to me. So from the root to the tip, I can control how I want it to be. So this is really, really cool. A lot of control you can have. The root to tip gain just basically allows you to control how much of that gain, how much more of that do you want to use. So if I go to the left, it's going to be more predominantly root to the root. And if I go to the tip, you can see that it's going to be more of that kind of like more tip regarding the gain, right? It's going to be more related towards the tip, more gain for the tip basically. And we just kind of end up where we were before with the original. So this is really, really great settings that you can play around with and really customize the hair you want to as much as possible. More than you would be able to do if we use these IRA preset settings. All right, these preset settings here are okay, but we're doing a lot more here just by going over a few of these options here. Cool. All right, so I'm going to set it to something I like. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. We can do something like this. I like that there. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Root to tip gain. I think I'm just going to do something like this. Something like that's fine. Cool. Okay. So that's it there. Really, in terms of the settings, in terms of controlling the hair, that is the setting there. Now, one thing I want to show you very quickly is, if you haven't seen my tutorial regarding strand-based hair, I highly recommend you watch that as well. It is free. It's on YouTube. If you search for strand-based hair, it is on there. And we're just going to go into a few of the settings that allows you to change the way this hair looks. So at the moment, this hair is dreadlocks, okay? It's literally like dreadlocks. And we can change the way this hair looks. And the way we do that is we can just expand this surfaces here, expand it again. And then we expand simulation, expand structure. And there's a couple of settings here. Hair simulation, the hair generation setting here, hair generation setting. Hair generate setting, I believe it is. If we expand that as well, we've got some more settings. We've got the pre-simulation and the pre-settings of the rendering, basically. So with the pre-simulation, there are some settings in here. I mean, there's a lot of settings here. You don't have to go into so much details. You only need to know a few. So one of the settings we can do is the random pitch, the roll, and the yaw. And these actually move the hair. So once I start moving the random pitch angle, PS random pitch angle, watch the hair move. Okay, so as I start moving it, you will see the hair starting to move, right? We're now controlling the way the hair looks. And the random roll, we just will roll the hair, right? And then we've got the yaw, right? This will turn the hair. All right, we can do a lot of cool stuff, and this is like, we haven't done anything, right? And we're making the best use of the hair just by understanding what these options do. So again, if you go watch that YouTube tutorial of strand-based hair, I believe I do cover this in there in a bit more detail. These particular options are in there. So now when I do the IRA preview, remember, we haven't even run the simulation yet. I haven't even run the Dforce simulation yet. This is just us playing around with the settings that are provided to us. So that's my character there, right? That's his hairstyle, right? If I turn it around, we can see what it looks like from the back. All right, there you go. Right, look at that hair. We have gone from this hair here, which looks like this, okay, to this, just by changing these settings here. Absolutely amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. So I'm going to turn these settings back and I'll show you the other ones. The other settings are, these settings are actually, we can change the settings as well. So we've got the random here, pitch angle, random roll, and random yaw angle. And so again, this would affect the way it looks. Right now it looks more like an afro, not an afro. It is an afro. Yes, it is an afro. So it looks more like afro hair, right? So it looks more frizzy, a lot more frizzy. And we can change the way that looks. So let me just bring that down. So now when I do it here, you've got a different effect with that hair, right? We've got like frizzy hair, very much afro style hair that you would see. And again, we're making the best use of that hair. And now look at my character here. That's what his hair looks like, right? Frizzy afro hair. And we haven't done anything. We've just changed a few settings, and look at that. What's happened to that character's hair? So again, we've got complete control over how we want the hair to look. I can reduce the length of the hair as well. If we just create, I think if we do a higher number, the hair will reduce. There it is. So PR reduce length amount, which is the length. If I just create a smaller number there, something like 5 maybe. There we go. And now if I do an IRA preview, you can see we've reduced the length amount of that strand base hair. All right, and now my character's got this afro here, and that's what his hair looks like.